Excuse me, Mr. DJ.
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way. Let the beat rock.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, it's the Midday Market Report with Jeff Dawson.
Good afternoon, sports fans from all around the globe. I once again am not Jeff Dawson of East Coast Sports Investors. I am your typical part-time co-host, Riley Magnuson. Jeff is enjoying some nice time off this week. Again, not sure if we'll see him this week or not, but for the time being, you are stuck with me a little bit here to break down what's going on in the world of sports. We had plenty of action going on yesterday. We've got, obviously, the World Series tonight, some more NBA action, bigger NBA slate tonight than last night. And some more Maction. We had a couple, the first installment of this year's Maction, at least during the week yesterday, and I was gushing over that. Didn't have sound plays or confident plays to give out, but that was fun last night, and we should have some more fun tonight that I will break down for everyone here, or try to do my best as far as the Mac. Still, who knows? Everybody's guess is as good as mine for the Maction right now, but it's at least fun to break down. But let's not waste any time. Like I said, I'm not sure what we'll get from Jeff Dawson this week. He is on a boat enjoying himself. So if the Wi-Fi is good enough and he's able to pop in at any point, we'll let him come back in, obviously. But for now, let's looking back at yesterday. You had obviously the World Series first thing top of the head, 7-0 Phils. I didn't have the strongest thoughts on it yesterday. I leaned towards the Phillies in the under 7.5, and that one obviously hit. I was a big giant whiff. I was starting to go through the home run props. I think I started to mention Bryce Harper, and then after seeing some odds, totally walked it back. So obviously that's a big whiff on my part. I don't know if it was 3-4 home runs, whatever they hit, but obviously the Phillies were put it out of the park pretty easy. The conversations around Lance McCullers today and last night have obviously been rampant. You've got plenty of people talking about it looked like the Phillies were able to pick up on him tipping pitches. Some people denied, saying he's just throwing meatballs down the plate. Off-speed fastball, it didn't matter. It was a meatball. However way you slice it, Lance McCullers was not good, and the Phillies took advantage of it, and the place was rocking from the first inning on. And the Astros seemed a little bit shell-shocked offensively, so interested to see how that progresses. We've got 2 more games in Philly tonight and tomorrow. We'll get into that in a little bit here. Just going back to the NBA slate from last night, you had 4 games on the slate, I do believe. I broke down those a little bit last night. You had my Bulls in Brooklyn. I kind of gave a lean to the Bulls. Didn't have a super confident approach for that one as far as the game itself, the outcome of the game, the spread of the game, money line, whatever, with obviously everything that's going on in Brooklyn and their circus, to put it lightly. I guess we'll just leave it at that. The Bulls get the 108-99 win. Really, I'm glad I stayed away from it still, despite the Bulls getting the win. It was really anybody's ball game. I had Zach LaVine over 23.5 points. He puts in 20 in the fourth quarter to get the win. Had he had a rough fourth quarter shooting, that it would have gone either way there. Kyrie Irving, still not going to touch on what is going on with him in his current positioning, whatever you want to call it. 4 points for him on 2 of 12 shooting. It was a rough night for him. Didn't get many calls. It seemed like 2 or 3 times there was a call that typically a star would have gotten that he did not get last night. Not saying anything either way, but it was a rough night for him. Kevin Durant was fantastic. I don't have his numbers exactly in front of me right now. I know he got, I want to say he got up over 32 points on 9-17 shooting. So he was himself last night. So we'll see what the Brooklyn Nets got going forward. I believe they're off tonight. Elsewhere, you had Miami 116-109. That was my NBA pick of the day that I felt confident in, at least outside of that Bulls game. 116-109. That one was a close one. That one actually could have gone either way, but the Heat pulled out there in the last couple of minutes of that game. The one that I had wrong, Minnesota and Phoenix. Phoenix takes care of business 116-107. I gave the issues for the Wolves, but didn't listen to myself on that one. So the Suns get that one done. They are 6-1. And then the fourth one was kind of my toss-up of the day, and another one that could have gone either way. Magic actually were leading for quite a bit of that game, but the Thunder win and cover as -3 favorites, 116-108. So we'll get into the NBA in a little bit here. Bigger slate tonight, as I mentioned. We'll get to as many injury reports as I can. Last night's action, again, I obviously, if you heard me talk, I wasn't super confident in any plays, but at least thought it was fun to break some of those down. Ball State, the 7-point dog, gets us a 7-point win, and that one stays under. I know I had leaned on the other game over Buffalo and Ohio, 61.5. That one flies over, and the dog in that one, Ohio takes care of business as well. And I can't remember, if I'm being honest. If I didn't say it, then I apologize. I was leaning towards the under on Ball State and Kent State. That one took care of business as well. So we'll get into that again tonight as far as the action. I know Northern Illinois, my neck of the woods, hosting Central Michigan as 6-point favorites. Both those teams 2-6, but I think they're a little better than the records would suggest. And then the other one, both the games at 6 o'clock my time, 7 o'clock East Coast. The other one, Western Michigan and Bowling Green. Bowling Green hosting as 5-point favorites. So we'll get into that in a little bit here, but let's not waste any time today. We're just going to jump right into things, move right around. If anyone has any questions, wherever you may be, please do not hesitate. I will, if you want to get involved, have some questions, whatnot, whether it's what I'm talking about or not, I am happy to loop around, circle back, and spend some time on any questions. So feel free, do not hesitate there. But getting into tonight's World Series, obviously 2-1 in favor of the Phillies. I mentioned it 7-0. Phillies win last night. The Phillies bats, obviously from the start, were rocking and rolling. Harper, the first inning home run, 2-0, and from that point it was all Phillies. Tonight's game, you've got Christian Javier for the Astros and Austin Nola making start number 2 of the World Series here in Game 4. I believe he would have been, still tonight, would have been Game 5. Obviously, the rain out, unless I'm wrong, and maybe he was scheduled for this game regardless. But obviously, Aaron Nola, getting the start for the Phillies, Christian Javier on the other end. As far as those two guys, Christian Javier, obviously not quite the household name as some of these other guys on this Astros team, Verlander, whatever. Sneakily, a really, really good regular season for this Astros team. 2.54 ERA, less than 1 WHIP, 0.95 WHIP. So far in the playoffs, had a bit of a rough. I don't remember. I don't remember it exactly. He had an outing against the Mariners in that series. An inning and a third, a hit and a run gave up. I don't remember what the circumstances were, but I know it was in relief. In his start against the Yankees, however, 5 1/3, 1 hit, no run, 3 walks, 5 Ks, 5-0 win. And this Astros team has not lost any of his appearances or starts since August the 26th. So this guy has been rocking and rolling kind of quietly. He hasn't gone past 6 innings during that stretch, but he'll give you 5-6 strong. So, could he be due for some regression? Absolutely. But in a bounce back spot where the Astros don't want to fall to 3-1, I've got a little confidence that he might be good. On the other end, obviously, you've got Aaron Nola, who was not fantastic in I believe it was game 1 for the Phillies here in this World Series. 4 1/3, 6 hits, 5 earned run, gave up 2 home runs. Both of them to Kyle Tucker, though. 2 walks, 5 Ks there in that first game. So you feel pretty good, as Jeff and I talked about, after a start like that. After actually 2 starts in a row, is one prior to that in the San Diego series also was not very good. So unless you think something is wrong with him, you probably should feel pretty good in a bounce back for him tonight for the Phillies. So again, it's not a game that I have the strongest thoughts on. As far as picking a side here, I really think at least one of these pitchers, if not both of them, is going to have a really nice night here. As of right now, I'm seeing -115 for the Phillies as the home favorite in this one, and the total I'm looking at over under 7.5, over 7 plus 100, under 7 -120. I kind of lean towards that under 7.5 again here, as far as, like I said, these pitchers having a really nice night. The under 3.5 in the first 5 kind of intrigues me. Like I was saying, I like both these guys to be really good for 5 innings. I'm a little worried that, maybe one of these guys slips up a little bit and it's a 3-1 first 5 innings. Either way, gets the overcatch. So I'm going to stay away from it, but I do like these pitchers to have a nice night. But, unless, again, I'll say it again, unless you think something's wrong with Aaron Nola, you feel pretty solid about a bounce back for him. The series prices on this one, if you are someone who's looking to get some guaranteed profit on this one, and you already have the plus money ticket on the Phillies, you have the chance to get back in now with the Astros and guarantee yourself a profit if that's the way you like to do it. Plus 135 series price for the Houston Astros right now. If you think they're going to win that, if you think they're going to win tonight, probably a good look to take as far as the series plus 135 price there. So Getting into some home run props again. I have to put my foot in my mouth. I had the right lean as far as the side and the under, but as far as the home runs, that was a big fat whiff on my part as far as how the Phillies were going to get it done. So, looking at them today, the difference in pricing is there. You've got Kyle Schwarber on top right now, plus 285, the leader or the shortest odds for home run tonight, and then Yordan Alvarez and Bryce Harper coming in at 3-1 plus 300. I mean, honestly, the way it's going, these books, whenever Kyle Schwarber doesn't hit a home run, they kind of anticipate that he's going to have a bounce back, and obviously he's done it to some degree here. So, if I'm going anywhere at the Phillies, maybe I go with a little Kyle Schwarber action, and, I maybe Yordan Alvarez has a cold series, but it does feel like he could be due. The other angle to consider, I guess, if you think Kyle Tucker may have Aaron Nola's number, he's 420 plus 420 tonight. But having said that, if you're thinking Kyle Tucker's hitting a home run tonight and potentially thinking the Astros win this game, you kind of have to be – that would be two separate games. Let's say the Astros win and Kyle Tucker has another home run tonight. That's two separate games where he's hitting home runs in their wins. I would say, and again, this is very specific to if you like Kyle Tucker tonight and think the Astros win. If not, then you can ignore everything I'm saying here. But you almost have to think about taking World Series MVP odds on Kyle Tucker if you think he's having another nice night here tonight. Typically, when somebody's having multiple games with home runs in the World Series, and it's a large factor why that team's winning those games, and he's going to have a leg up on the MVP. So again, if you think he might be a good spot for a home run here tonight for the Astros, you almost have to look at him 10-1, I believe it is, for the World Series odds. I'm not saying that's what I'm doing. I'm just saying if you like him tonight, you almost have to think about the World Series odds there for Kyle Tucker. So unless anybody's got any questions, we can move right along from that. I kind of think this one gets evened up, and then maybe it's 3-2 heading back to Houston. Maybe the Phillies get tomorrow night, but this one could swing anyway. That Philly crowd has been absolutely raucous, and if things start leaning the Phillies' way early again or at any point, then obviously the place is up for grabs. So I'm going to stay away from any side on this one. I think it could be a nice pitcher's duel tonight, but you never know. I was saying that to some degree last night, and the Phillies were obviously rocking the ball out of the park. So we will move off of that, making this one probably a short and sweet episode for you guys here today. A nice hefty NBA slate that we'll move on to as I pull it up for us here. I know my Bulls are in action tonight. If you've been paying attention to me on these shows, or if you followed me along on Twitter, I do a Bulls blog every single game, Bulls game. 6-2 on the season for the best bet. One bet every game. I've got one again here tonight. They are hosting the Charlotte Hornets the second night of a back-to-back. Last night in Brooklyn, tonight back home in Chicago. That's not the first game of the night, but might as well, as it's fresh in my brain, might as well roll off with it. Bulls -5. I saw -5.5 a couple times here today, but -5 is the decent consensus here, it looks like. Total 223 I'm seeing right now. I believe that one might be on its way up. Let me double-check the line movement on that total. Actually, that one's coming down. Sorry, it was a little higher coming down. And interestingly enough, if you have not been paying attention to this Hornets team, they're 3-4. No LaMelo Ball through 7 games just yet. This will be obviously game number 8. He is out tonight. Once again, I'm not sure what the timetable for his return is, but new head coach or second stint as head coach Steve Clifford, obviously been in the NBA a while, but first year back here with this group of Hornets team. They've been surprisingly decent on defense. 10th in defensive efficiency so far. Number 1 in the league, 3-point percentage allowed. That one's probably going to regress a little bit. And maybe things change when LaMelo comes back. I don't know if their identity is looking to change or if they're just trying to play some scrappy, hard-nosed basketball a little bit while LaMelo's out. And they're a little bit of a different team here. So I don't know. The -5 honestly seems kind of spot on to me. This Bulls team is obviously very sporadic. It doesn't appear Zach LaVine will be in tonight. Obviously 20 points in the fourth quarter last night. They're kind of taking a load management approach whenever, so far they haven't played him on any back-to-backs. I haven't played him 2 nights of a back-to-back. So we got obviously played last night, not going to play tonight, it seems. So, and so far in those games, DeMar DeRozan has his point in production has increased quite a bit, and I kind of expect that tonight, especially with the 3-point, defense that the Hornets have kind of enacted. At 2-point percentage, they are kind of bottom third of the league, but I do think DeMar DeRozan could have a nice night, but where I went with the blog and where I'll say right now is and why the Bulls, if you think the Bulls are going to win, why they could win. I went with Nikola Vucevic over 18.5 points. As far as the prop in this one, the Hornets 27th in the league in points per game allowed in the paint. So I mentioned number 1 in the league in 3-point percentage, but number 27 in the league in points per game allowed in the paint. And I think it's dead last on the road, 60 points per game allowed in the paint. So Nikola Vucevic, I've mentioned on this show, has shown some more confidence. His field goal percentage is a little bit down. Rebound numbers are the highest of his career. Free throw attempts are the highest of his career. Field goal percentage and points are a little bit down, but I think if he just cleans up some of the finishing a little bit and finishes some of these easy buckets on small defenders, that's going to go back up and across the board. He's going to be looking like a box score and eye test is going to be looking like a better version than we've seen here in Chicago so far. So I'm going with a nice, obviously at least 19-point game for Vooch, but I think he can get up over well over 20, maybe 25 points there, and if he's able to hit any threes, that'll help. But Vooch is honestly the X factor of that game. Whether you like his points prop or not, or whether you not like the Bulls or not, he is probably going to be the reason they win or lose that game, in my opinion here. So I don't have a strong thought on the spread itself. The Bulls -5. Honestly, I kind of lean towards the total. These Bulls totals have been quite a bit higher than this. Part of that's who they've played. Same thing with the Hornets, but I mentioned the Hornets. Better defense, no Zach LaVine. Not sure what the Bulls will be able to do from the three-point line. Without Zach LaVine, they've only got Kobe White's also questionable, so not sure if they'll have that as far as three-point shooting from him as well. So not sure what to expect there, but I do like Vooch to have a nice game. The first game of the night, should have started with that, but the first game of the night on the East Coast, oddly enough, here we've got the 76ers in Philly hosting the Washington Wizards. These two teams just played each other. I believe that's both of their last game. Yep, both of their last games 2 days ago on Monday. It was a pretty good game. The Phillies ended up taking the 118-111 win. I was on the Wizards in that game. Joel Embiid was out of that game. He is questionable to my knowledge right now. I have not seen any updated injury reports, but I'm not sure what we're going to see there. The line may suggest that maybe he is going to be in that game. And honestly, I was playing the other day off of why is this line so short, and it ended up being because of Joel Embiid. But so far, the Sixers team, this is not an indication of what they'll be by the end of the season, but with and without Joel Embiid, they've actually surprisingly not been very good with Joel Embiid and have so far shown serious signs of life offensively without him. So part of that is just getting kind of stuck in the mud offensively and getting stagnant and obviously trying to run through your star. But and again, I think that'll be a lot better, and that won't be the case, very soon here. But so far, this Sixers team has actually had some struggles with Joel Embiid. So interested to see what's going to happen tonight. Again, it's a team that I'm staying away from for the most part right now. Obviously, I put my foot in my mouth and took the Wizards the other night, and I was wrong on that one. So I'm going to stay away from the Sixers team for quite a while here. Next one up. This one is in New York. Knicks hosting Atlanta. New York actually -2.5 on the spread here. The Knicks 3-3 on the season so far. Atlanta 4-3. Just looking through some injury reports, looks like Cam Reddish questionable, Quentin Grimes questionable for the Knicks, and that's about it. I don't see anything major here. This is the first game these two teams are playing against each other. Both these teams coming off back-to-back losses. I don't have the best read on these teams, but you know what? This kind of seems like a Knicks number, if you ask me. Their offense has actually been pretty decent, and again, two losses on the road in Milwaukee and in Cleveland, two tough teams that obviously are playing arguably, if not the top two teams so far in the league as far as what they've shown. They're definitely two of the top five teams from what we've seen Milwaukee and Cleveland there. So the Knicks coming back away from that before that having a really nice stretch, really nice offense against an Atlanta team that's definitely shaky at times. I think maybe tonight is a good spot to at least consider. Let's see a team total on this Knicks team here, because -2.5, over under 117.5, 118.5. I actually am a little interested in the Knicks here. A lot of this, I've seen some of these numbers, but still kind of breaking these down as we go to some degree here. So, might be a little hesitant on the Hawks there as dogs on the road. Might be a little interested in the Knicks. Obviously, Trae Young. If Trae Young's active, and unless I'm missing something and he's out, but if Trae Young's active, obviously he loves playing there. So maybe that's what keeps you away from it. I don't know, but -2.5 looks like a potentially interesting spot for the Knicks there. Boston and Cleveland is the next one up here. That's a very good game. Obviously, I got to give some credit to Boston, what they've done so far, 4-2. These two teams just played each other. They do have a game in between since the last time they played, October 28th. So I think less than a week ago they played each other. Cleveland gets the win. That one was in Boston. This one is in Cleveland. That one is a pretty good game. Boston was 7-point favorites in that one. And now here getting quite a bit of a different story here. It is 2-point favorite for Boston. They're on the road. Let's double check any injury reports here. Excuse me. Nothing crazy. I think Darius Garland's still questionable in this one. So Donovan Mitchell has been fantastic. I didn't see what happened, in either of these two teams last game. Obviously just mentioned it, though. Cleveland taking down the Knicks 121-108. So their offense has been really, really solid. Boston, that one I think went to overtime, so the score is a little bit inflated, but nonetheless, that Cleveland offense was able to get get some shots in and have a nice offensive output in that game. So maybe you feel like a nice little regression from the Cavs here. They're they've been the public darling a little bit, but now still I don't want to call them an underdog team, but obviously they're not the team that went to the finals last year. They're not the Sixers with Joel Embiid. They're not the Bucks with Giannis. They're still kind of that trendy team out of the East. So maybe this is a spot where you see some regression, and maybe the Celtics are the right side. But I'm going to stay away from it. Both those teams have been pretty good. I like picking off some of these spots where you've got a team that's maybe not getting enough credit against a team that's getting too much credit. So we'll see if there's any cases like that still the rest of the way. Sacramento and Miami, next one up. I know for sure this is second night of a back-to-back for Miami. They took care of Golden State at home last night. They stay in Miami for Sacramento. Sacramento 2-4. They've got both of their wins coming in the last two games. Did take down the Heat there 2 games ago, October 29th. 119-113 as 4-point dogs. Now you're seeing 6.5-point spread here for the Heat. So one of those situations where two teams playing each other, a better Heat team than the Kings. Kings have shown some life here in the early portions of the season, but you would expect the Heat to have a better bounce back as far as bounce back against the team that they just lost to less than a week ago. But on the second night of a back-to-back, I'm gonna hold back off of it. The 6.5 kind of feels spot on, and it might be a little bit of a toss-up on the spread in that one. Like I said, this Kings team, a little better than people are giving them credit for, better than probably I gave them credit for to start the season here. Still only 2-4, but long way to go. I'm going to stay away from this one. This one does feel a little spot on if you ask me. Detroit and Milwaukee, the next one up, 11.5-point spread here for Milwaukee. Another situation. These two teams just played each other on Monday. It was a very, very good game, actually. This Pistons team is scrappy team, 2-6. 13.5-point spread for Milwaukee there, and the Pistons keep it to a 2-point game. They actually had a chance to win that game, but 6-0 Milwaukee. They are playing better than anybody without a doubt. Giannis is, per his own words, he is balling right now. So it's a spot where, looking back in the past, last year and before that, this Bucks team put the work on this Pistons team time and time again, but there is a little bit of a different feel for this Pistons team right now, despite the 2-6 record. So I would feel confident that the Bucks were, instead of the Pistons lose, now they might be alive to win. Maybe it's a spot where the Bucks kind of struggled with them on night 1 2 nights ago, and I'll beat the brakes off of them tonight. That's kind of where I would lean, but don't want to lay the 11.5. Obviously, if you heard me the last few weeks, I do like this Pistons team just in general. So talent-wise, I think they're better than 11.5 dogs in any spot. But yeah, I'll stay away from it. The Bucks could be in a prime spot to have a big win tonight. So let's see, 5 games left, I think, on the NBA slate, and then we'll move on to the MAC to close things out. Clippers and Rockets. This one is in Houston. Rockets 1-7, going to be in the tankathon for Victor Wembanyama. They are, again, 1-7. These two teams, another situation. We've got a lot of duplicate or back-to-back games of teams playing the same. Two teams playing each other, and within the span of a week, we've had a lot of those situations so far. This is another one, and it was another close one. Again, on Monday night, Clippers get the 95-93 win as 8.5-point favorites. So failed to cover, but get the 2-point win over the Rockets. This Clippers team has been kind of weird so far. They've been kind of a stay away from me. Had some waves early, but it was beating teams that are either bad or obviously have their own struggles right now. So it's kind of an interesting spot. And this, like I said, I think I'm just going to hang my hat on just avoiding this Clippers team altogether. A 6-point spread here, over under 223. Probably feel good that there's going to be some better offensive output from both of these teams tonight. Injury report, it looks like Jayshawn Tate, I think this was 2 days ago, so I don't know if this is updated, but Jayshawn Tate was out on Monday, as well as Robert Covington, so we'll see if they get back in. The Clippers have won 4 straight in this matchup, but and it's actually kind of seesaw to competitive game, blowout, competitive game to blowout, so maybe I lean towards the Clippers having a nice big win here. But again, I will stay away from it. The game the other night was actually in LA. This one is in Houston. So this is a big fat stay away from me. Wouldn't surprise me either way what happened here. Again, this Clippers team has got some problems. At the end of the season, I think they'll have those problems potentially figured out and be a lot better team. But until then, they are a big fat stay away from me and potentially even a fade spot for me against teams that might be not getting enough credit for themselves. So moving on to surprise team in the Spurs, 5-2, supposed to be in the Tankathon sweepstakes for Victor, but they are 5-2 right now, hosting the Toronto Raptors. 7.5-point spread in favor of the Raptors on the road here. So the oddsmakers kind of taking a stand with this one. The people appear to be flocking towards the Spurs. I can do a double check on the price or the money splits on that one. The Raptors have had some injury issues. Looks like they're getting some guys back. Isaiah Roby and Keldon Johnson are out for the Spurs. Keldon Johnson, again, the Spurs team is just across the league. You have all of these bad teams still have guys that can roll out of bed and score 20 points a game. We know people just don't quite know who they are yet. Keldon Johnson is a legit player, and if he is out, that is going to hurt them offensively quite a bit here. He has been really good so far. And again, 5-2. They're 2-1 against the Wolves. Played them a handful of times. Took care of my Bulls in San Antonio. But this Raptors team is pretty damn good. They've handled them pretty well in the past. Raptors over Spurs here. 139-109 win over Atlanta on Monday in Toronto. So I think you could feel pretty decent about a nice rollover offensively here into San Antonio. Their defense, San Antonio's defense, hasn't been great. Their offense has been really what's pacing them to the 5-2 record here. So 7.5 is a lot, but I kind of lean towards maybe Toronto having a nice defensive effort without Keldon Johnson on the Spurs side and doing enough offensively. 108 is kind of the consensus team total, so maybe the Spurs stay under that one. That one seems like it could be a little too good to be true to the over. People buying into the sizzle for the Spurs might be flocking to that one. So I might lean towards Raptors and team total under for the Spurs on that one. 3 games left here. Another surprise team, Utah, 6-2. Even more, making even more waves than the Spurs are as far as a team that's supposed to be tanking right now. They are in Dallas. Kind of a similar situation, 6.5-point dogs in Dallas against Luka and the Mavs. As long as I have my info correct and there's no injury designations for Luka, there's not. So 3-3 for the Dallas Mavericks. They've been a little weird so far as well. Kind of handled some of these teams that haven't have had some issues, and they've handled them well. Beat the Nets. Beat the Orlando Magic, have lost, however, to the Thunder recently. So not quite sure what to make of the Mavericks. They're still kind of figuring themselves out. A lot of these teams in the middle of the pack kind of figuring themselves out. And teams like Utah that, for whatever reason, 6-2, have some type of offensive answers right now, have been kind of taking care of business against these teams that are still figuring themselves out. So you would expect some regression from Utah at some point here, but I'm going to stay away from it for now. My former Bull, Lauri Markkanen, is making some headlines. He's scoring really, really well right now. So I don't know what to make of this one. 6.5. That one kind of seems, I'll go out on record and saying it's going to be a toss-up, but maybe I lean towards the under, maybe a little regression from Utah's offense. Just 124, 121, 2 straight games at home against Memphis. Getting a Dallas team looking to stay above 500. I like Dallas to get the win, but again, it's kind of a stay away from me. I don't have too strong of thoughts on this one. I could see this one going anyway. Maybe Utah gets to 7-2. I don't know. They've obviously been surprising. If the front office is hoping to tank, they might have to pull something up there, or pull something out of their sleeve, pull a rabbit out of their hat to try and to make this team worse and actually get them in the tankathon there for Victor. So 2 games left here: Memphis and Portland. Portland, a team I was high on Portland this season, maybe not to be a 5-1 team. I had them just being an above 500 team basically. They are 5-1. hosting Memphis tonight. They are still without Damian Lillard, it does look like. I'm not sure exactly how long he is going to be out. But before you run to the window on the Grizzlies, this Portland team has some scoring abilities, regardless if Damian Lillard is there or not. He was fantastic before he left. I'm sure he'll be fantastic when he comes back. But this team, as contrary to last year when they were, I don't remember what they were, 25-win team or whatever the heck they were. Now you've got Jeremy Grant in the building. You've got Josh Hart now, a second full season. Anthony Simons, again, another year of becoming a legit scorer in this league. So they have options. They have a better bench than they did last year. So they are not a pushover team with or without Damian Lillard here. So 4.5-point dogs here against Memphis. Obviously, Memphis, I'm a fan of this Memphis team as well, of what they have got. But this one's kind of a toss-up. I think this one is a good spot. I mean, the Blazers, over the 4 of the last 5 games, the Blazers have won and covered in this matchup. And for the most part, those spreads have been fairly close. The Grizzlies, however, coming off back-to-back losses, we just mentioned with Utah. They are 2 straight losses in Utah. Their offense has been fine for the most part here. So, honestly, the total in this one, I think, is 226.5. Seems lower than what it should be, so maybe I'm a little hesitant to run to the window on the over. Seems typically 2 teams that can score like this, you'd like to see if you're to have confidence that the game is going to have a lot of points. 230 might be the number that I feel strongly about it going over. So I'm a little hesitant on the 226.5. Maybe that's an underplay in one of these offensive struggles here tonight, actually. I might be leaning towards the under on that one, kind of go contrarian to the popular belief of offense from both sides here. So, again, I'm not going to run to it, but leaning towards the under on that one. New Orleans and the Lakers to close things out. This one is in Staples Center. The Lakers hosting 3.5-point dogs, depending on where you're seeing it. Looks like it's kind of all over the place, different books, different numbers there. 229 is the total in this one. You know what? I'm taking a firm stance right now of just not betting on the Lakers in their games altogether. They do not adhere to spots of when they're supposed to bounce back, when they're supposed to regress. They just don't adhere to it. They're only 1-5, obviously. I think Anthony Davis is questionable tonight. Everyone else seems to be good to go. As far as the Pelicans, I think they've got their full list of guys going. So this one could be worth watching, obviously, if you got Zion, Brandon Ingram, and whatnot. But I don't know. Typically, this Pelicans team, after that trade for Anthony Davis, just looking forward to the last 5 at least. That's all I've got is the last 5 in front of me. The Pelicans have won 4 of the last 5, going back 2 years prior. So you kind of get a spirited effort from this Pelicans team, kind of to shove it in the Lakers' face for trading away some of these assets. I think Brandon Ingram, I want to double check if Brandon Ingram is in or not. He might be out, and that was obviously a massive piece of the deal. So that kind of takes away some of that, billing as far as the revenge factor. If he's not playing at all, I don't know if they have got anyone else in the lineup tonight for that. But nonetheless, this Lakers team has still got its problems. I think they are coming off the win at home against Denver on Sunday night, I believe, 121-110. So a nice little momentum in 2 days rest. So I you know what? I don't know. I think you could probably feel decent about. It looks like the public is all over the Pelicans tonight. So if you want to go somewhere, it kind of feels like this might be a time for the Lakers to get something done. Let me double check some DraftKings splits to see if that at least one central location. Yeah, 86% of the money, 71% of the bets coming in on the Pelicans spread. So if you want to fade the public on that one and you want to take a swing with the Lakers and not buying into the entire dumpster fire that's going on with the Lakers, then go ahead and take a stab. But as I mentioned, this Lakers team, going back to last year, they just don't adhere to those types of spots and trends and when they're supposed to bounce back. A nice momentum, 2 days off. Just when you think they're going to have a nice night, maybe, lack of Brandon Ingram struggles, has issues for the Pelicans. I'm going to stay away from it. I'm not touching this Lakers team with a 10-foot pole, good or bad. Fading them, taking them, doesn't matter. I'm not touching this Lakers team right now. The Pelicans have, what's their record right now? The Pelicans, 4-2. They've looked solid. They've got some aspirations for the season. The best version of them has been pretty good so far. We'll see if they, can improve on that, obviously. But it's just a situation that I'm staying far, far away from. So that just about does it for the NBA. I don't have the strongest thoughts across the board. Got my Vooch prop for the Bulls game there. Kind of interested in some Knicks action Let's see. Kind of interested. Maybe I'm not going to take it, but I feel maybe pretty good that the Bucks will take care of business there. Interested in potentially either Raptors action or fading the Spurs as far as their team total. That's where my other pick would be there. So to close this thing out, let's go to the MAC once again. The way we closed it out yesterday, 2 games. Again, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I've got the most confident play by any means, and I don't know that unless somebody that is a MAC expert, if there is one, kudos to you if you are. I'm not going to sit here and say unequivocally that there's a side to take on any of these games. I mentioned yesterday, I didn't really give it out. I was kind of, like I said, I was leaning towards the strongest was my lean towards the over in the Buffalo-Ohio game. In a lot of these spots, though, taking the underdog is honestly a decent spot to take sometimes with the points. These teams, for the most part, especially right now, this year, last year, top to bottom, the differences from the top team to the bottom team really isn't that drastic. Maybe I'm not giving credit to the top team or the bottom team, but I'd say the general consensus, the middle of this conference is a lot. The middle of it is very closer. All these teams are a lot closer to each other than say the top and bottom of any other conference, really. So, like I said, the underdog is a good spot to consider in a lot of these games. But tonight you've got +5 for Western Michigan, 5.5 on the road in Bowling Green. Again, I have no idea what to expect specifically for these teams. That's just one thing that I've noticed is that the underdog in a lot of these action games is a good spot to take. The total in this one down at 48. Obviously, points is the theme of action typically. And you saw last night, both games right around 60. One went over, one went under. But the total on this one, 48.5. And for the most part, no matter what, people still like to flock towards the over in these games. I'm going to double check here. The over on DraftKings for this game, 67% of the money, 69% of the bets. So one way or another, people are flocking to the over on this one. Western Michigan, their offense, if you're looking for points, maybe be a little concerned about Western Michigan's offense. 23 in a loss to EMU, 14 in a loss to Ohio, and 16-10 win over Miami, Ohio recently. Bowling Green's offense is kind of all over the place. So I'm going to stay just clear away from this one. I'd be hesitant on the total on this one. A total under 50 in the MAC is definitely should be a little bit of a red flag for you, especially if these games in the 60s are getting over no problem and people are still hammering them over. Maybe one in the 40s or even in the 50s, low 50s should be a little concerning. Do I know what's going to happen? I have no idea. It could be a 60-72 game. Who knows? You never know what's going to happen with the MAC. If you're playing it, do it for entertainment and tread lightly. But maybe tread lightly on that total for sure in that one. Heading to Northern Illinois, my neck of the woods to some degree, about 40 minutes where I grew up. Probably about an hour and a half, 2 hours from where I am now. But Northern Illinois, both these teams 2-6. Central Michigan on the other end of it, 2-6 for both these teams. A 6-point favorite from Northern Illinois today. Total 56.5. So a little bit different story from the game that I just mentioned. It does see here on. We'll check these splits. Over 57, getting 58% of the money, 60% of the bets. Over on DraftKings, and the Huskies, Northern Illinois Huskies, 52% of the bets, 59% of the money. So again, I don't know anything as far as a super confident play to make on any of this stuff here. Both these teams, 2-6. I think both of them are better than their record would suggest. Like I said, a lot of these games are really close. These teams, just looking at Northern Illinois, a touchdown loss to Ohio, their last game. 6-point loss to Ball State. I remember that one. I think they blew a 38-20 lead or something like that. So their offense has been pretty consistent and kind of looking for a bounce back here. I think that's what, if I had to lean anywhere, I think it would be Northern Illinois team total over 31.5 is where I would lean. But it would be an entertainment play for me 100% of the way if I did. And honestly, it's tough for me in Illinois, in the state of Illinois, to legally, quote unquote, legally gamble on Illinois colleges with our rules that we've got here. So if I'm doing that, I got to get a little creative and find elsewhere to go on that one. But I think that is where I would go on that one. But again, who am I as far as breaking down the MAC? I have no idea what the heck I'm doing. I'm just trying to give some entertainment stuff out of the MAC. So a few more weeks of action. We'll have plenty of fun on those, and I'm sure once Jeff comes back, him and I will break those down, and he'll probably have similar thoughts as maybe he'll have a nice lean as far as something. But, anyone who, unless they are specifically a MAC expert, anyone who's got a full confident play as far as the MAC, I would take with a grain of salt to some degree there, with all due respect. So that about does it. Unless anyone's got any last-minute questions here before we get out of here, we talked World Series tonight. Obviously broke down yesterday's action going on. Went down the entire NBA slate as well, and the 2 MAC slate for tonight. So please wager responsibly if you're wagering on any of this action. Keep an eye out for any content that we've got. Jeff will be back soon enough. Not sure what our schedule is going to look like going forward. I know Kiefer and I are planning on doing some type of Big Ten, maybe SEC preview for the weekend. The SEC is the bigger story than my Big Ten for sure, with the 2 games that they've got going on. But the Big Ten's got at least a few things that are worth mentioning there. And then maybe we'll have something else going on tomorrow. I'm not sure. But please stay tuned to the Twitters of all of us. Obviously, East Coast Sports Invest for Mr. Jeff Dawson and every all-encompassing East Coast Sports Invest. I am Riley Magnuson at Riley_Magnuson1 on Twitter. Again, I've got my Bulls Best Bet of the Day blog out already on my Twitter platform or ShyCitySports.com. 6-2 on the year, looking to go 7-2. I believe I've got a couple days off of that after this, but we'll have a nice, hopefully a nice 7-2 run after tonight's game is concerned. So, thanks for stopping by. Appreciate you for hanging out with me. If you missed Jeff Dawson, I apologize. You're stuck with me for another show at least. So, thanks again. I hope everyone has some fun tonight. Best of luck. Wager responsibly. Stick around with us the rest of the week. We'll have some more fun action and content coming up. So best of luck the rest of the way tonight, and we will see you soon. Thank you very much.